Yes, guys, and welcome from me. This is Championship Manager 0102, King of the Dugout, Season 6, Preseason, #1. Now, basically, for those of you that haven't caught up, the last instalment was a bit of a silent live stream. It was to see how the last month went. I will catch up with that, and I'll go through what's been going on over the turn of pre-season, because we've had so much action, and we're really getting ourselves prepared for the new season ahead. But firstly, let's just go to the main conclusion and show you just how this all finished. It was absolutely insane. The third division finished that. The playoff final, Murderers and Answer 2, Blasphemians 1. But I think it's fair to say that it all went down to the last game. And Chicken Curry were, if you may recall this from the last video, Chicken Curry were entertaining Sunday Strikers and they lost. And Stuart, Murderers and Answer, had the opportunity to leapfrog into the top 3, but didn't. He didn't. But going back to the semi-finals, that's how the semi-finals went. Stuart ended up having to go for the playoffs and he took Rushton out. And Omish rolled in FC. Well, poor Wayne, you've got to feel for him because he won the first leg 2-1 and the second leg finished 1-0 and it went to penalty. So obviously no away goals were included in that, which I didn't realise. And even though Stuart lost the second leg against Rushton, he went to the final to play Blasphemians. And let me remind you, the bit of rivalry between Murderers and Answer and Blasphemians have beaten them twice in the league this season. But it was third time lucky for Stuart and his Murderers and Answer, who are promoted. But as I said, he could have avoided it. He just had to win at Bournemouth. The last video, we did watch that Chicken Curry Sunday Strikers game live. And that was absolutely insane. It really was. Meanwhile, let's go to the second division. And the breaking news is that Mark Rutgers wins the playoffs, gets promoted to the first division. And Jesper, what can you say from Jesper? He drew the first leg with QPR 1-1. Already he was fighting a losing battle, because at that point I felt maybe the away goal rule, but obviously it didn't make any difference. Mark Rutgers, Orange the New Black, well, he had work to do there, didn't he? He did have work to do. But the second legs finished like that. It was, I think, what was more remarkable there was to see AC Runmansion get knocked out. And I think the bottom line is maybe it was a case of the season had caught up with him. It had caught up with him, with the European participation. And a big well done here to Connor, who eventually ended up hammering everybody to the title. 123 points, 10 clear. And a big well done to Lee Sharples. He gains promotion. He hadn't confirmed it going into May. It was in his own hands to fuck up, really. But credit where it's due to Lee Sharples. He is promoted. And a quick reminder now then, the League Cup, for those of you that don't know, we knew that from several months ago. That was Connor's. He beat Arsenal 2-1. The Vans Trophy, that was Lee's. He beat Stoke. And the FA Cup went to Manchester United. Jesper's, his month was complete, really, weren't it? Everything went wrong. You know, he's got plenty of money. More about that in a moment. But that is how it is, you know. You've got to feel for him. You really have got to feel for him indeed. So, let me now tell you what has been happening. We've had CPU bids galore. We've had an additional transfer list, which I'll explain. But firstly, the CPU bids, all based on the wheel, the wheel, of course, the wheel of death, or the wheel of fortune, the wheel of misfortune. Connor has offloaded 4 players for a combined total of £18.225 million. Now, let me remind you that when a player is picked on the CPU, you get his value of what he finishes at on that last save. And with Connor now being in the first division, what do we say it was? 200,000 multiplied by number of goals, number of assists, and number of Man of the Match awards. Now, you may recall Connor had a striker called Gomez, it was over 100. He wasn't picked. Notable players that did leave though for Connor was Paweł Brozek. He moved for £8.9 million. And where he's moved to in terms of CPU, I've actually moved him there in the editor. He's gone to Monaco. Lee Sharples has offloaded all 5 of his CPU bids, a staggering £29.575 million for Lee Sharples. Notable player that's left there, Sergei Davidov. He's gone for £14.1 million. Wayne Chester only opted to get rid of one of his 5 CPUs. Jody Jenkins has moved to Brentford for 275 grand. Mark Rutgers, a man who's going to the second tier, offloaded all 5 of his for a combined £32.4 million. Simba Marumbo was the biggest marquee player leaving, £15.6 million. He moves to Sao Paulo. Stuart Danton opted to release or sell 4 of his players for a combined just under £8 million. Giles Domarada is the notable player for £3.5 million, just over. Jesper, he opted to release or sell 5 of his, all 5 of his, just over £11 million. Paul Evans was a notable player, £5.8 million for him. Trevor Choi opted for all 5 of his, a total of £9.9 million, £5 million for Ivan Nedlovich, and Kiko went for 4.1. I think it's the right thing to do. Al Mo opted to get rid of 3 of his for a combined just under £2.5 million. We are still waiting for Big Phil, Delarala and Adu. They've not come back yet. We have also had some brand spanking new shit going on here. It's called a transfer list. And the transfer list basically was players were... maybe they wanted to get rid of them on CPU, but it didn't come through. So everybody put a transfer list in, and a CPU would come in for these transfer listed players. Now, the CPU would come in for only a 25% of their value, a 50%, a 75%, and a 100% of their value, and a free transfer. So basically, everyone put their transfer lists up, and 5 players actually went on that. For example, Leeds Crystal Palace offloaded Kallio to St Helens for 100 grand. He offloaded Alexandra, we'll call him Krapakovsky, for 300 grand. And Stockley went from Fritzl to St Helens on a free transfer. Danny Boxall left Fritzl for Omis Northern FC on a free transfer. And Kevin Fotheringham went from Football Heritage to Chicken Curry for 100 grand. But also Lee offloaded 4 players to CP, an additional 4 players to CPU based on this. This was decided after any other players had the chance to look at transfer lists. Surprisingly for me, Helder Postiga has gone for £1.1 million. Connor's offloaded 2 players. Mark Rutgers has offloaded 3 players. Trevor Choice got rid of another 4. Jesper's got rid of another 4. We are still waiting on the rest of the guys on that though. So, big news. But now what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you a test game. And it is just purely a test game because that's what I'll do. Loads and loads of tests. And you can see the guys. I did confirm it before, and I'm going to reconfirm it that Jesper Rodman will be in the UEFA Cup next season, or this season, season 6, along with Football Heritage, because of his being runners-up in the FA Cup to Manchester United, who won the Premier League and won the Champions League and won. They cleaned up, didn't they? They've been cleaning up. So Jesper's call it a backdoor entry if you wish. But he will be there. But basically, we are all set up now with our guys in each division. Now, the first division, Orange is the New Black, Football Heritage and Fritzl Palace. All the guys, we've obviously got the big transfers to go through, yeah. We've got 5 pools coming up to 5 pools, shall I say. Unless the guys say we don't need another pool. And their wage allowances have increased rapidly, massively, and I'll show you more about that in a moment. The second division is set. Let me remind you that assuming we get 3 of our guys promoted from the second division, and we'll have 6 players in the first division. Now that is a benchmark to have 6, over 50% of our players in at least the second tier will unlock a selection of players that we've locked until we had this benchmark. The likes of Sigalko, he is on that list. A player I'm not going to go through anymore because I don't want to give away. But if somebody said, can I go for Sigalko? He meets my wage demands. He meets the CA demands. Yes and yes. But he's an elite player, isn't he? It is an elite player. And there is a selection of players that Mark Whittaker has for us. And of course, we've got the third division where only 2 of our guys are going to be partaking now. Wayne Chester, Omish Roland FC, and Adu's Blasmians. I fancy them both to get promoted. I expect them to both get promoted. Okay, I will say one thing. A couple of our guys have already exercised this. The parent clubs have been done. And St Helens have taken their 2. They got given Newcastle United. When you increase your division, you increase your probability of a better team. And he's got his 2 players on loan for the season. And I don't think anyone's going to get any closer than what I'm about to show you. Because Lee Sharples is one lucky motherfucker. He got Leeds United, right? And if you think Danny Mills is okay, what a fucking bastard. And this is all based on pure luck. Mark Whittaker starts a new game and he looks at who is not needed and who is a hot prospect at the parent club, which was of course done by Will, in order. He shows that list to Lee. Lee goes, I'll have them too. And he's a game changer. He really is an absolute game changer. A reminder to all our guys, if anyone had a player on loan last season, providing you've been promoted, you have the option to buy that player now for his CPU value. So let's hypothetically say Alan Smith has an amazing season. It's all about his CPU value at the end if he wants to exercise that opportunity to buy him. Alan Smith is a great player though for Lee, really is. I think he'll help him rapidly this season. But now let's talk about what we got going on, because let's talk about St Helens. Al Mo, he is currently, including his loans, 29 players in his squad. He's released a whole load of players. A lot of the guys have released players. More about that in a moment. St Helens, so Al, 29 players, 190U. He's got just under £10.5 million. He's built his capacity. He's got a wage per week of 10,250. League wins, that's reset, but his cube wins is 61. And that, of course, is what raises his wages. Ticket price, £15. Now, it's important, the ticket price, you probably know what that is, because the ticket price is going to be that ticket price multiplied by his capacity, multiplied by 23 home league games. I'm going to do it slightly different this season. When the season officially starts, when all the windows close and shit, I was doing the home matches, weren't I, each month. Mark Rutgers gave me the idea. I'm going to do it in one big lump sum. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to do it until the season starts, so you can't spend that money regardless during the season. So call it season ticket monies if you want. So it's going to be £15 times 40,000 is his capacity, which is the cap for Division 2, times 23 home games. And that's going to go across the board. Now, Lee Sharples, Crystal Palace, of course, his ticket price is 20 million. His wages is 11,500. The capacity 5,000. He needs to build. He has to build either this pre-season or next pre-season if he were to get to the Premier League, because you must have 10,000. Lee's holding 22 players with 190U, £45 million in the bank. I should point out, all the money from CPUs has been added. CPU, everything that I've gone through has been added, including the TV money, which of course for Lee is £5 million. Trevor Choi, 26 players, 390Us, 19.5 million, 22,000 capacity, 8,750 on wages, £15 per ticket this season ahead. Philip Dirala, he's not done his CPU bids yet. 9 million, 9.7, 34 players, 390Us, 9,500 wages, £15 per ticket. Stuart Danton, 36 players, 590Us, 15.8 million in the bank, 8.75 for wages, 10,000 capacity. He don't need to build if you don't want to. £15 a ticket as well for you. Mark Rutgers, 27 players, 190U. £49.9 million to Mark Rutgers. He is armed with a lot of money there. 14,000 stadium, 11,000 wages, £20 per ticket. There is a tactic to this, really. I mean, he's got money. He can really work on his stadium. And it's a good call. And, of course, he got 5 million for entering the first division. Jesper Ronman, Jesper, 27 players, also 190U, 41.4 million, 23,000 stadium, 12,500 wages, £15 per ticket, and he was given 6 million TV money. Now, 1.5 million is because he's in Division 2, but of course, a 4.5 million bonus for his participation in the UEFA Cup. Connor, 29 players, 4 non-EUs, 42.9 million, 7,000 stadium. He really has to build as well. 14,250 for wages, £20 per ticket, 9.5 million TV money. That is, of course, 5 million plus 4.5 million for the UEFA Cup. Wayne, 43 and 4 non-EUs, £1.4 million in the bank. He has built his stadium to 12,000, 4,900, £10 a ticket. And he was given, of course, his 1 million TV money. Adu is our second player that hasn't yet accepted any CPU bids. 36 players, 5 non-EUs, 3.3 million in the bank, 4,000 stadium, 3,500 wages, and a £10 ticket as well. Of course, £10 tickets, so they're in the lower leagues. So basically, all our guys have been, you may recall this from last season, they've all been releasing players. And providing, if you're in the 3rd division, they're 100 grand and under on the last save, they can release him for free, which they tend to be honest with you. Same with the benchmark in Division 2, which is 250 grand, 500 in the 1st division, and $1 million in the Premier League. So no one's actually, I think Wayne had a player that was 110, he said, I won't release him. So basically, I'm going to have to show you this now. Our guys have been releasing players all over the place, and like I did last season, the players that get released are over here. I think I actually need to start a new game because I've added more to Dunthorpe. Do you remember Brian Harvey's Potato? That was, of course, a team managed by Dave Treasurer. So I'm just adding them to these, just to sort of keep their memory going. I'm making it sound like they're dead, aren't I? Keep their memory alive in the game. I like the idea of it. Dunthorpe. And I'm just really putting them out here, there and everywhere. Into Your Nan, we all know who Into Your Nan was. Of course, that was our very own Matt. North London is red, he's got loads. Of course, I can have up to 50. We've got Perfectico Madrid. He's got a few. That one really just makes me chuckle. Just the letter Z. Sam's Bastards, he's got a few. You know, I expect more players to be released, to be honest with you. I still expect a lot more to be released. Don't think I've missed anybody, have I? Oh, Glasgow United, William McGregor, and of course Megadonte. And I think they might play a part in the FA Cup. That's how I look at it. You know, you never know. They might play a part in the FA Cup. So what else I've done right with the FA Cup? You can see we've got there. Now, Man U, last season, Season 5, Man U beat Jesper, we know that. Season 4, they beat Leeds. I can only go back to Season 4 on that. The League Cup, that's all up to date, as you can see. Heritage are not lit there because I've not selected them as a game. The Vans, that's all up to date as well. You know, I've even done the Champions League, even though it don't affect our guys. But the Champions League is done, as is the UEFA Cup, because they're the important ones for the season ahead. You know, like things like Super Cup and shit like that. Milan will be against Man United in the Super Cup. Actually, I'll tell you what I haven't done. I haven't done the Premier League, have I? I haven't done the Premier League. I should probably do that. Realistically, yeah. Do you know what? I didn't actually think of that. Didn't even think. I should do, yeah, I can do that though. I can do that. I will do Premier League and I'll add that onto the next one. So that's it then, guys. That is our King of the Dugout, Season 6, or conclusion of Season 5 if you must. And everybody's really, I think everyone's very, very, very excited about this. Although that being said, going forward, me and Mark are taking a break from this for a few days. I wanted to get all the CPUs concluded. Philippe and Adu haven't come back to us yet on their CPU bids, but you know, at the end of the day, we do all have lives and shit. But I don't care. This is more important. And that's it from me, guys. And until next time, it's Take It Easy.